Good evening. Welcome to this series of teaching on experiencing the Buddha's teaching. So I start a bit early this evening because on Monday I have some problem with YouTube live streaming. I couldn't manage to get on, so I try to start a bit early today, just 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah. So now we are at a module that I call Navigating the Highs and Lows of Our Life. And tonight, this evening, we are at the last session of this module. So I want to start off with just a kind of review of at least some of the points that I have touched on over the past few sessions, just in case maybe some people joining us first time. So in this module, navigating the highs and lows of our life, I first presented a set of 8 different types of experiences, which we can group into 4 pairs, 4 contrasting pairs. So we have experiences like pleasure and pain, that's the first pair. We have gaining things that we want or we desire, the gains and losses, which is the opposite, losing things that we hold dear or we love or we cherish, gains and loss. And the third pair is praise and blames or criticism. And the fourth pair is traditionally is fame and bad reputation. And I like to interpret that as having others' good opinions versus having others' bad opinions of ourselves. So those are the 4 pairs of experiences. They are contrasting with one another, and quite often when we experience one set, the pleasure, the gain, the praise, and good opinions of others, we find it something very pleasant. We like it. It's what we desire or what we want or we look forward to, which is very normal. And likewise, when we experience the opposite, when we encounter pain and we encounter losses, or we suffer criticisms, or we find ourselves that people hold really poor opinions of us, and we don't like that. It's unpleasant, it's even painful sometimes, and we dislike it. We want to change it. So, and in between this sort of these 4 pairs of experiences, we experience so-called ups and downs. We're happy when we have one, and we're unhappy with the other. And these are what I refer to as highs and lows in life. Just a small subset of all the other possible kind of experiences we can encounter. This 8 of them has a specific name in the Buddhist teaching. They are called the concerns, worldly concerns. They are the concerns of the world, in the sense that they are the sort of things that most of us in the world are preoccupied with, we are most concerned about. In fact, it's easy for us to spend a lot of our time and energy in our life seeking to acquire, to possess, to increase, one half of them, and then just as much energy, if not more, to avoid or to get rid or to be done with the other half. So we may find that we put a lot of effort and energy into seeking things that give pleasure to us. For example, food, the type of food that we really enjoy, we like, and we really suffer when we are not able to have our favorite food, or we find ourselves eating food or we dislike or we just can't stand, and we're really not happy about it. Yeah. So ups and downs, so you can understand where that comes from. So These are the 8 worldly concerns, and they preoccupy our attention easily for a lot of us to define happiness in relation to them, and or otherwise suffering. So we might easily equate happiness as experiencing pleasure, praise, gains, and so on and so forth, and equate unhappiness or suffering with the opposite, with pain, with losses, and so forth. And this way of this is not uncommon. And this teaching, this set of teaching, is related to what I covered previously, previous modules. It's sort of a conclusion to what we have covered so far. And we have covered topics like appreciating our human life, awareness of death, and finding and refuge, as well as understanding the Buddhist teaching of karma. And all these different topics, when we put them together, they have a certain objective. And that objective is to shift our emphasis away from seeking out this kind of happiness, happiness of pleasure, of gain, or praise, and so on, and to try to shift our priorities. All right. So this kind of pleasure, happiness, which I'm talking about, we call them happiness, essential pleasure in Buddhism. Sensual pleasure. It has something to do with stimulating our senses. So pleasure, the pleasure from eating is stimulating our taste buds, and the pleasure of gaining something that we want or acquiring, usually material things, we acquire it. We get very happy about it. So again, and praise is, for example, someone praise you, sound comes to us. So it could also be YouTube likes, how many people like you or follow you, and so on and so forth. So we receive this kind of sensory stimulation, and they give rise to a sense of pleasure. We like it. It's wonderful. And so we call it happiness, essential pleasure. And the whole aim of quite a few of those topics that I covered is to, we acknowledge this is happiness. This is a kind of happiness or something pleasant. But we try not to make seeking happiness, essential pleasure, our highest priority in life. Because there are also other forms of happiness available to us. And I think last week I touched on some of those other kinds of happiness. The happiness of living an ethical life, or sometimes called happiness of blamelessness, feeling no blame, a clear conscience at the end of one's life. We live our life feeling that we have done our best in accordance to our ethical principle, and living in accordance with that. This is also related to living a purposeful life, a meaningful life, because ethics has a lot to do with how we see right and wrong, good and bad, and we try to do the good thing, the right thing, as much as we can, so they give a sense of purpose, of meaning to one's life. Another type of happiness I touch on is happiness of loving connection, a connection with others, and also our connection with ourselves, and having to be in touch with the feelings or heartfelt quality of loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. I also touch on briefly on happiness of meditative absorption, which is a special kind of happiness that come to us in our meditation practice, especially when we are able to enter deep states of absorption of attention in meditation. So the whole point of this is to see if we can kind of evaluate our priorities, what is most important to us, what we want to place our energy or attention on and strive towards, and to shift that priority from being preoccupied with the happiness of sensual pleasures to one or more of these other types of happiness. Instead of spending a lot of our energy preoccupied with gaining pleasures, material gains and praises and others' good opinions, and likewise trying to avoid the opposite, to put our energy into living an ethical life, nurturing loving connections, and also, especially if you like meditation like me, to nurturing the inner qualities in meditation. So, which is an interesting idea. Why would we spend so much time and effort talking about this? One of the main reasons is because happiness. If we equate happiness with any of the four of the worldly concerns, the problem with them is that they are very transient experiences, and a lot of time they depend on conditions that are out of our control. So if we are to make them our highest priority and to equate happiness or unhappiness with them, we find that we, in our life, will be like a yo-yo. Our inner experiences, emotional life will really be a yo-yo, like they're going up and down, and depending on changing fortunes. One moment we experience pleasure, we are elated, we're happy. The next moment we experience pain, and we are down, and we are very unhappy. One moment we gain something, we are overjoyed. The next moment we lost something, we feel like a failure. It's not necessarily the best recipe for finding peace of mind and heart, finding, this day we talk about genuine happiness. And we also find that despite our best effort, we will not be able to fully influence or control all the variables or the changing conditions involved. And so the Buddha's teaching, this first section that I touch on, how I mentioned, is called the small scope. Small scope is in relation to our motivation. Small scope of motivation, finding personal happiness. In relation to that, we are trying to shift our attention away. We're not neglecting it. We're not denying that sensual pleasures are wonderful, but we are trying not to put all our emphasis on them, not to put all our eggs in one basket, so to speak, but instead to shift our attention and to become aware that, hey, there are other ways of living our life. There are other things that are just as important to us and that are able to contribute to our sense of well-being, to our sense of happiness, our sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in life. And in so doing, help us to shift our objective, our priorities in life, and to make other things as more important to us, as worthy of our pursuit, our investment of time and energy in. Okay, so that is roughly what I have touched on, and just as a way of reminding you or review. And as we are live today, we seem not to have any internet connection problem. You're most welcome to post your questions or comments in the live chat, and we can have some interaction. If there's any questions that come up or any comments or you would like to share, you're most welcome to do so. So today I wanted to round up this module, and including what I've covered previously. So I want to focus on two main things. First is, of course, to complete our discussion of the 8 worldly concerns. So I have touched on briefly the first and second pair, and today I want to touch on the third and the fourth pair together, because they are kind of related to one another. Praise and blame and others' good opinions and bad opinions of us are somehow, if people have good opinions of us, they're more likely to praise us, to show appreciation, and people hold really bad opinions of us, then they're more likely to blame us or to criticize us. Yeah, and also to relate all this discussion to how is it related to the topics we have covered before, and how through practicing and familiarizing, meditating on topics of like appreciating our human life, awareness of death, on refuge and karma, how that help us to shift our motivation. So those are the two main things I want to touch on this evening. So first, let's look at the impact of praises and criticisms and others' good opinions or bad opinions of us. Good opinions or bad opinions of us, of course, it exists in other people's mind, but it's often expressed in different ways, consciously or unconsciously, verbally or non-verbally. And of course, then we get to know. Of course, if we don't know, it's not much impact on us, but it is often when we become aware, and we are very sensitive to others' opinions. After all, we are social animals, and by true awareness, others, whether they're holding good or bad opinions of us, they also have an impact on us, on our feelings. And one reason we really need to think about, why is it we, at least some of us, look outside of us for I would consider that affirmation. Why do I look outside of myself? I look to others. If others were to praise me, I feel very happy about myself. Or I feel my sense of self-worth is rising. When others criticize me or dislike me, why do I have experienced the opposite? I found my self-worth seems to be decreasing. Almost I make others the main conditions for my own experience of happiness, my own experience of self-worthiness. Isn't it interesting? But it's not uncommon for us to feel like that, for us to place kind of quite an important, we attach quite a certain amount of importance to another person's praises and blames. Even though we also are aware that people praise us or blame us for all sorts of different reasons, not necessarily have to do with us, maybe more to do with them. Maybe if they want to get something from us or to get us to do certain things, they might adopt the strategy of praising us, or they might adopt the strategy of criticizing us. And in fact, that might say more about themselves as opposed to about ourselves. So if we were to think a little bit about that, you may find that that is not a good approach to give so much importance, or even I sometimes think of it, giving away the power to others, so that others somehow have in their hand the power to decide whether I should be happy or unhappy in this moment, whether I'm in this moment worthy to be happy or not. That power is given away to others. I'm not so sure that is such a wise thing to do. And likewise, similarly with good opinions and bad opinions, which is, I have to admit, a really difficult thing. It's very kind of hardwired within us. I would look at the number of likes or views and somehow translate that, as a statement about myself. So others' good opinions of me, whether it's factual or not, is somehow translated into my own good opinions of myself, and others' bad opinions of me is likewise translated as my own bad opinions towards myself. Of course, we also know, other people's opinions are influenced by who knows what sort of factors. Maybe they just have been in a bad mood today, and so no matter what we are doing, we're still bad. Or maybe they're in a terribly good mood, joyous, happy, generous, and whatever I'm doing will still be good. So, but the important thing is, why do we give others so much power over ourselves? Why do we make others the only sort of judge of our sense of worth, our sense of goodness? And also, why should I allow others such power to decide whether I'm happy or not? And I think that is an important question to think about, especially if myself and I'm sure many others find that there are occasions in life, maybe not every time, but there are occasions in life we really long for that praise, that appreciation, for that good opinions, and we really find it important to us, because it really sort of somehow we feel that we need that kind of certification from others in order for us to feel good about ourselves. And I'm saying that might not be I think that is in general not a good recipe for genuine happiness. So, and likewise, it also makes us much more vulnerable than we need to be, and by people's changing opinions of us, we can really suffer if they withhold the praise, if they criticize us for right or wrong reasons, or if for some reason they hold bad opinions of us, they dislike us. So the last two pairs are once again not something we should. We should be aware of it because it gives us some information, how others see us, and that might help us. Of course, we can learn from it, but not such a good idea to give them so much importance, such a high priority in relation to our sense of happiness or sense of self-worth. Yeah. So what would be a good remedy if, despite our best effort, we find that we are very susceptible to others' opinions? We, for one reason, for right or wrong reason, we still value it so much. We long for it, in fact, in relation to certain significant people in our life. Some of us find it, we might spend the whole life trying to get their good opinions, trying to gain their approval, really wanting them to notice us, to appreciate us, to praise us. And or we find, some of us find ourselves, even when we are all grown up, that we are still very much very sensitive to another person's criticisms, and how that has such a tremendous impact on us, cause us so much suffering and heartache. And sometimes we might even internalize that criticism, so much so that even if the person is not physically here with you, we have this inner voice that would criticize us, from our early life experiences. Yeah. So I think we really, it's good to be aware of how others' opinions, others' praises and blame, what part they play in us, in our happiness, a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, in a sense of self-worth. To really notice that, because that, as I mentioned, can affect us in a tremendous way. And the remedy of it is we're going to go back to topics that I've covered before, and maybe to refresh your memory, remind you, and try to put them together and see how those topics, as we familiarize ourselves with them, as we reflect and meditate on them, how they can actually help us, to navigate through this praise and blame, good or bad opinions, as the other worldly concerns. So previously we touched on a topic in the Buddha's teaching, which is what I call appreciating our precious human life. It's an invitation for us to take a look at our life, past or present, look at the circumstances of our life, the opportunities we have, the qualities we have, or the kind of experiences we enjoy. But pick up, highlight the really positive things, the really helpful things in our life, and somehow put them together so that we come to see our life from yet a different perspective, something really precious, valuable, unique, unrepeatable. And hopefully that helps us to give rise to a sense of appreciation, to appreciate what we have enjoyed or experienced, or what we are still currently having, and to appreciate how wonderful this life is, one's own life. To be able to come to that way of seeing and regarding our life. So that's the first thing, to see our life as something precious, and also to become aware of its value. It has something really powerful potential within it, within ourselves. There is the potential, of course, for us to make good use of it, to accomplish our whatever goals we may have in mind for ourselves, for our life. So to really value our life is the very first thing. And this goes a long way to help us find a sense of inner self-worth. The fact that we are alive, we have all this in our life is something really quite marvelous. And hopefully we will come to cherish it and to value it and to appreciate it, and not instead of holding the opposite, a very low, poor, bad opinion of ourselves. Is it possible to transform that into something very different, into the opposite, to hold a really good opinion, to value our life as it is, to appreciate what we have and what we are enjoying, to come to a different attitude towards oneself, towards one's life, right? And I'm saying this goes a long way to help us find a more balanced attitude towards others' praise and blame, towards others' good or bad opinions of us. Yeah. And the second topic, next topic, is on death awareness of death, which heighten the preciousness of this life, the fact that we all have to die, and not only that, it's uncertain. We don't know how long we have to live. So there is the uncertainty of our lifespan. And that also we can make use of this life to do something really worthwhile and really beneficial. So death awareness really heighten for us the preciousness of this life. Also impart a certain urgency to make good use of it. And the third topic we touch on is on refuge. And this is to say that first of all, you don't have to do it. We are not alone in this world. We have different supports that we can reach out to, that will support us, that we can rely on, to help us on our journey, life journey. We have something precious here that we ought to value and make good use of, and we are also supported, to this outer refuge. We also have this idea of inner refuge, that within ourselves we have the inner potential for us to, one simple way to say is the inner potential for us to be happy, to be genuinely happy. And that potential resides within ourselves. We have the potential for us to realize the Dharma, realize the truth, to make it real for ourselves. We have the inner potential for us to awaken, to be like the Buddha, and for us to be like a community, not only to support ourselves, but also we in turn can support others in their journey. Yeah. So that is refuge. And the last one topic is karma, which point us back to the power of our actions, our choices. Actions could be actions of physical actions, our behavior in our daily life, our speech, as well as our thoughts. All our actions are very powerful. They bring about effects. They have consequences. Do not underestimate the power of our own actions. That our actions have consequences, which is why we create them in the first place. And so by skillfully and wisely managing the kind of choices we make, the kind of actions we involve, we can shape our future. Excuse me, I'm having a So karma very nicely round up the topic and affirm to us not only do we have a precious life, but we can actually do something with it by taking the initiative, by being proactively acting in a conscientious, intentional way, creating certain kinds of actions which brings certain results in the near or distant future. So we are not helpless. We are not like completely powerless. That we can, of course, we don't have absolute control over everything in our life, but nonetheless, each moment, each new moment coming to us, offer us a new opportunity to make yet another choice, to act in whichever way we intended to, and thereby shape our future again and again and again. Every day, every moment, offer that opportunity to us. And this is especially true since we have a precious human life. So we get to enjoy various freedoms we have available to us, various opportunities. For example, the opportunities to contact the Buddha's teaching, to reflect on them, to see whether it's true or not, and to put some of them into practice. Yeah. So when we put all this together, it painted a very uplifting picture, a picture which is centered on recognizing one's own good fortune, opportunity, and inner potential to be truly happy. So, and that really goes a long way when we internalize it, when we realize it, to help us relate in a more healthy way towards others' opinions, towards others' praises and blames. That we don't have to we don't have to give away that power, rest our happiness solely in dependence how others think of us. Okay, so I hope that give you some idea to work with. I thought maybe now is a good time. If you have any questions or comments, most welcome to type them in the chat. So I thought maybe this evening we can do a meditation just to refresh your memory on appreciating our precious human life, especially since we have come a long way and we have all this different discussion. And this time, to see how important it is to appreciate what we have, be in the past or present, and to highlight the positive features in our life to ourselves, the auspicious features in our life. Of course, we all have a mixture in life. We have happy moments, unhappy moments. We have good fortune. We also suffer misfortunes. We have challenges and difficulties and pain and so on, losses and so on and so forth. And this is true for most of us, yeah. And but it's important not to allow that to sort of overwhelm us and help us to make us sort of hold a really low or poor opinion of ourselves, of our life. It's very important to take an active step to transform that perspective, to try to see our life from another way, another angle, and come to feel differently about ourselves, about our life. So this is appreciating our precious human life. There are various ways of doing it. People, traditionally, they have a list of, I think, at least 18 of them, and you go through and you tick the box and say, yes, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. Wow, so wonderful my life is. I tend not to do things so logically in my meditation, or I actually find quite helpful to leave it open and become like an open aspiration, just to see each time we meditate what comes up. And we invite the good, but of course sometimes the bad will come along, and learn how to, in meditation, with the power of our attention, learn how to select and choose to say, all right, yes, this is suitable. This is what I'm going to attend to, and or another memories arise. Say, oh no, yes, that's true. I acknowledge I have these difficulties or this shortcoming, but not in this moment. I'm going to put that aside, and then I'm going to attend to something else. Yeah. So I invite you in this meditation to let into your awareness, coming up from one's memories, or I like to think of it as from one's unconscious, different episodes within our life from the past, or could also be what's going on in our life at the moment. Different images, ideas, things that we can, when we put them together, we can say, oh, no, this is something wonderful. This is something auspicious. This is something I would like to highlight as one's own good fortune, positive opportunity that we have, and as we are able to bring each one of them to mind, to become aware of it, to remember it, in the foreground of our awareness, see whether we can find within our own heart the different response towards them, to be able to appreciate them, to be able to appreciate and feel happy even a sense of gratitude that, oh, yes, I thought I have this, this experiences, or I have accomplished this. I have this sort of accomplishments, this sort of talents, this sort of qualities, positive qualities, and to be able to find within our own heart a sense of appreciation. Say, oh, this is quite wonderful. Yes, awesome. Not so bad after all. Yeah. To have that kind of, to cultivate that sense of appreciation of ourselves, of our life. So what do we want to bring to mind? It can be anything. As I usually say in my meditation, I set very low standards. Yeah. Anything that you feel or you can regard as positive features of your life, things that contribute towards a sense of seeing your life as precious, as wonderful, as valuable, as unique and unrepeatable. So it could be pleasant memories. I have low standard, as I said. Simple, joyful moments from long time ago might pop into my mind and say, hey, that was pretty nice. That was a really wonderful moment in my life. I was happy, I was at ease, it was a feeling of joy. How wonderful it is that I actually have that in my own life. So I can appreciate that. So it doesn't have to be anything grand or terribly important or earth-shaking. It's totally personal. What is it that you can remember or recall or become aware of that you really appreciate having them in one's own life? This could be as a different type of experiences, different kind of achievements or accomplishments, becoming aware of one's own talents or gifts, so to speak, one's own good qualities. Also appreciate of having all those wonderful interaction with others, having some people in one's life, and to appreciate that, how through that interaction our life becomes we're happier, we maybe a better person, who knows. Yeah. And then there's that really added to the overall goodness of one's life. Yeah. So I made the scope pretty broad and pretty vague also, but I hope you would take this opportunity in this meditation to freely explore a bit. And I try to tell people, you can do it whichever way suits you. Some people like to do it chronologically. They will start from early first 5 years of their life and work towards now. That's also possible, or any other kind of manner. I tend to do it haphazardly and randomly. I just sort of leave it to my mind to suggest something, to offer up an image, memories, an idea, and then I might turn it over and observe it and say, yeah, this is pretty good. All right, I'll take it on board and regard it as yet one more element going to prove and to show that I have a really precious human life. Okay, so should we do a meditation together and just explore this? And towards the end of the meditation, I invite you then to turn your attention to karma. Now that you have this precious human life and we are able to appreciate, to reflect a little bit on what sort of actions, what sort of choices we can proactively make or invoke that would shape a different future for ourselves, right? So that is roughly what we're going to meditate on. So take a few moments, settle yourself in a comfortable meditation posture. So feel free to sit upright in a chair, on a chair, or you can sit on the floor if you're used to it. You can also, in the privacy of your own place, choose to lie down, lie on your back in the supine position. You can lie on the floor, best to lie on a mat or something, or you can lie on a bed, any firm supportive surface. Yeah. So as you get yourself into a position, I'm going to ring this bell to signal the start of the meditation. So let's begin by helping our body, giving our body time to find its way into the posture. See if you can become aware of sensations at the points of contact between your body and your seat, your body and the ground in this posture. At those points of contact, notice sensations beneath you. Notice sensations of solidity, of firmness, of stability, and how these sensations from the support beneath you are here to support your body, to hold it up, to keep it stable, balanced, and safe. And once the body is able to recognize and accept that in this posture it is well supported, then the body can begin an automatic process whereby it will start to loosen up, to unwind. On its own, it can let go of some of those unnecessary tensions, tightenings, holdings, and it will adjust itself, allowing itself to really settle down more and more comfortably into the posture. And in any meditation, it's good to spend at least a few minutes at the beginning just to help body and mind to shift gears, to transition into meditation. And we can do that with the help of our breath. So let's start with a few deep breaths, breathing in and out deeply. And on the out breath, we remind ourselves to release. We allow the breath to settle back to its natural rhythm. And at least for the first few minutes, see if you can rest your attention on the breath sensations in the body so that you can experience your in-breath and your out-breath. So each time we return our attention to the breath, if we find that our attention is distracted elsewhere, simply come back to the breath. Each time we notice an out-breath as we breathe out, see if we can remind ourselves that this is an opportunity to release. Breathing out, maybe more and more of those unnecessary tightness and tension in the body may just flow away with the breath and disappear. Likewise, coming back to the breath, even saying the word release on the out breath. Maybe some of those thoughts, those ideas, images, memories not related to the meditation that sort of pop into our mind, hijack our attention. As we breathe out, maybe we can also release all those thoughts, all those concerns, and let them flow away with the breath. So coming back to your own breath sensations, breathing out, deepening the sense of release. Maybe we can notice whether there's any tension in the face alongside the breath. Quite often we do tense up the facial muscles unconsciously. And now it's a good opportunity as we breathe out to release those muscles of the face, to welcome in a different feeling, a feeling of softness, of ease and comfort into one's own face. come back to the breath. We continue breathing out, releasing maybe tensions in other parts of the body might also flow away with the breath, helping body and mind to make that transition to settle more and more comfortably and deeper into the meditation. And now, putting aside the breath for the time being, let's turn our attention to the meditation on appreciating our precious human life. Feel free to reconnect with the breath at any point of time during the meditation if you find the mind is very distracted. So now, see if we can give permission and allow our mind and heart to offer up different memories or images regarding the different aspects of our own life. Could be the past, could be the present. Are there any auspicious features of this life? Anything positive, uplifting, beneficial? Any happy moments, happy experiences of the past? Any experiences of good fortune in our own opinion? Could also be our own accomplishments, our talents, our gifts, our good deeds, positive actions, and also one's own good qualities. Maybe some of these past incidents may come back to mind, one at a time as they arise. Take a good look at them, ponder about them, reflect about them. See if we can find within ourselves, with our own hearts, a sense of appreciation, feeling how wonderful this is for us to have such an experience or to have such a quality or achievement, and to feel happy about it, to feel a sense of gratitude and appreciation, how wonderful this is. So coming back to the meditation, it's good to start with a lower standard. You can always raise it later. Maybe moments of the past, moments of happiness, of pure joy, moments of good deeds we have done. Any of those memories can come back to us right here and now. And as we reflect on each one of them, see if we can appreciate them as the little jewels of one's own life and come to see our life as something precious, valuable, unique, and unrepeatable. So coming back to your meditation now and then, it's quite normal for us to get distracted to other things, or maybe sometimes we draw blank, nothing comes to mind. So whatever it is, see if you can. Sometimes you can try different ways to help the process along, to trigger some memories. And I think most helpful is to start from lower standards, start from happy moments in one's life, happy moments with others, loving connection with others, happy moments of achievements, discovery, doing things that we are really interested in, really engage in fully. Start from the happy moments of one's own life and work outwards from there to see all the auspicious, unique features of one's own precious human life. Coming back to our meditation, maybe reflecting on the positive, auspicious features of our life. maybe starting from the happy moments of this life or things that contribute to that happiness. And you might want to consider the positive actions, the good choices we have made in this life, things that contribute towards our greater sense of happiness, our good fortune, good deeds that we have done that benefit others or benefit ourselves. These are also aspects of our precious human life. See if you can recall some of them and see if you can see how they contribute to make our life so much more wonderful, unique, and valuable. And then lastly, I invite you, if you want to reflect on what are the choices we can make now, the kind of actions we can create, positive actions that will shape our future, to shape a better future for ourselves, to recognize the power we have within ourselves through our choices, through our actions, through creating karma, in shaping our future experiences, in making this life, this precious life of ours, into something really meaningful and purposeful. So maybe extend your meditation, look into the future, look at what we can create now in terms of actions and choices that will contribute towards greater happiness for ourselves in the future. Okay, so there's just a short meditation or reflection on the topic of appreciating our precious human life, and also to appreciate our own potential for happiness, and to appreciate that we are empowered. We have the power in our hands to create the conditions conducive to our own happiness. And therefore, hopefully we would not waste this opportunity and really come to value it and to recognize its great value, and to hold a very positive regards towards ourselves and towards our own life, and not always look outside of ourselves for affirmation of our own self-worth, of the value of our own life, to find that within ourselves instead of outside of ourselves. If you have any questions or comments, you're most welcome to post them in the chat. So to sort of conclude or to summarize what we touched on, early on when I come across early years, when I come across Tibetan Buddhism, I studied these different topics which are usually grouped together under a set of teaching that is called the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment, or Lam Rim in Tibetan. And at this point of time, when they covered all those few topics I've touched on, the Tibetan Lamas like to talk about the objective of reflecting on them is for us to give up our concerns for this life, or sometimes they say give up our attachment to this life. And on first encounter, I find those phrases really disturbing. What do you mean by give up concerns for this life? Shouldn't I look after myself properly in this life? No, I should just forget it, just chuck it out. And what do you mean by attachment to this life? But this, my life, If I don't look after it, if I'm not attached to it, what else do you want me to do? Should I just sort of just let myself starve? Don't bother about personal hygiene, and don't bother to do anything to yourself. Yeah. So I always find those phrases, those conclusions about this giving up concerns for this life, I find sort of difficult to wrap my head around, until I came across as an explanation, the teaching of these 8 worldly concerns. So what they're saying is, as a conclusion, is to help us to not make the concern of this life, like for example, the 8 worldly concerns, not make those concerns about those sets of experiences our highest priority in this life. Not to make seeking out pleasures and avoiding pain our highest priority. Of course, it doesn't mean that they're not important, but does not make them the only or highest priority in our life. Because one reason is, despite our best effort, we will most probably unable to fully avoid pain. Yeah. And despite our best effort, there's no way for us to hold on to pleasant experiences, because these are all very transient experiences, very dependent on changing conditions. Despite our best efforts, we can't ensure that we always receive praises and never blames or criticisms, that we always get to enjoy gaining things, that we don't have to encounter losses. It's not possible. No. And likewise, it's not possible for us to control others' opinions of us. I mean, we try our best, but there are always circumstances beyond our control. And then one moment we find ourselves having another's good opinion, and then next moment, we have their bad opinions. Yeah. And so it is unwise to make the 8 worldly concerns our highest priority, and to equate them as happiness in this life. And instead, our attention is drawn to think differently, to go beyond this. So what I was talking about, happiness, essential pleasures, to not get all caught up in them, and to recognize actually there are other things just as important, even more important to us, that really contribute to our sense of genuine happiness, to direct our attention to the importance of living an ethical life. Ethics goes a long way to contribute to a sense of meaning and purpose to our life, to direct our attention to loving connection with others, and to nurture that connections and not to take them for granted and only regret it when things are too late, when we lost somebody that we cherished. Yeah. And also to recognize that actually happiness, of course, it's dependent on various conditions, but there are other forms of happiness that are much more related to ourselves, to be found within ourselves. And of course, it still depends on conditions, but they are not so subjected to, unlike the 8 worldly concerns, they are much more stable. They're more to do with our frame of mind, to do with our inner qualities. These are the happiness that we can experience when we cultivate meditation. These are our inner resources that we can fall back on, and we can come back and rely on, and they can contribute positively to our happiness. Okay, so this is what, if you happen to come across this phrase, give up concerns for this life, in relation to this small scope section of the teaching, the small scope of motivation, giving up the concerns of this life, give up our attachment to this life. What it means is it's not that we stop taking care of ourselves, but it's that although we may enjoy pleasures, we try to avoid pain, we do not make that our highest priority, because that strategy, I mentioned last week, is not a good one. We will, instead of helping us to find peace and satisfaction, if we are to fall into that trap, of always seeking, running round and round, in and among the 4 pairs of worldly concerns, we will only be exhausted, and yet at the same time not able to achieve what we wish for, which is to find, or to be satisfied, to be contented, to be at peace, and to be happy. And to achieve that, the sensual pleasures are not good candidates for that, although it contributes towards it, of course, no doubt about it. Right? And here it highlights the importance of the teaching of karma, the importance of our own actions, the importance of our mindful of the actions we create, the choices we made, and to not underestimate or to put down how powerful our actions are, how powerful our choices are. Of course, we all make mistakes, So the whole point is not to keep blaming ourselves, to suffer from regret and guilt, but to recognize that each new moment, every moment brings us yet another opportunity to make a different choice, or the same one if it's a good one, of course, to create actions, actions that are conducive to our happiness, actions that causes to bring about our desired results. And so this is a very important thing to reflect on, to remind ourselves of the power of our own actions, of our choices. Again, it's an empowering teaching to take the power back to and to return it to ourselves, instead of foolishly or unmindfully giving it away to others, other circumstances, to other people, and then try to, and then in a way, in a very not so healthy way, depend on another's opinions, or whether they praise us or blame us, in order for us to be happy or unhappy. So to reclaim that power is a very important aspect of karma teaching, to be empowered, to just as a reminder, to recognize that the choices I make here and now, day to day, moment to moment, they do bear fruits. They have some kind of efficacy. And not to underestimate small actions, small little tiny things, the small choices we make from one day to another. It is when we accumulate all these different little choices, little actions that we do, that we actually are able to shape the future. And so overall, I hope you find these teachings something uplifting, something empowering, as opposed to something disempowering. And that is actually a very important aspect of the teaching, to appreciate our precious human life, to have a sense of urgency, recognizing death, and yet also recognize that we are not alone. We have objects of refuge to rely on, both outside and also inside within us, our inner refuge, and to acknowledge the power of our own actions. So with that, I conclude this section, also these modules of learning to navigate the highs and lows of our life. So I wonder, is there any questions? If not, then just to situate what we have covered, just to give you an idea. So in this series of experiencing the Buddha's teaching, I hope you will find something practical. And with each of the topics we covered so far, each of them come with a kind of conclusion, which is really how the teaching is designed and geared to help us develop our own experiences, to draw our own conclusion, and to be able to internalize it within ourselves and make it a part of ourselves, to assimilate it into ourselves. So that was just now, as I was going on and on about feeling empowered. That's one of the conclusion of learning about karma and reflecting on it. Just turn it around in your mind, try to make sense of it for ourselves, and to try to recognize it in our own experiences, or to see it in other people's experiences. And hopefully you will view karma, come to see karma as I was saying, something empowering. That this notion that all our actions have consequences, and that by each moment we have yet another opportunity to create more karma, to create actions that shape our future. And if we are able to fully internalize that idea within ourselves and then express it in our life, and to feel empowered in that way, then that is that's how we are able to experience that teachings, and we can see it in action in our own experiences. Great to be reminded that happiness is our responsibilities and come more from within than relying on external things. Confidence seems to hang on so many things our culture sets up. Very hard to step outside of that. Yeah, confidence is an interesting thing, So a lot of spiritual path, a big portion of it, strangely enough, is finding confidence within oneself, and that is very much tied up with this view, this self-worth, this sense of there is quite often in the modern world, there's an important topic is the worthiness of us to love and to be loved, to feel ourselves worthy of receiving love, and to love ourselves and to love others. So these are very important ideas, because if we are stuck with a low self-image of ourselves, or we are stuck with a sense of unworthiness within ourselves, that greatly contribute to our suffering, and that is a major obstacle for us for finding this personal happiness, this sense of peace and satisfaction within ourselves. And so quite often some of those topics I touch on offered as an antidote, things that people are invited to reflect on, to think about, and to see whether they help us to change some of these deeply held beliefs and opinions. We all hold certain views and beliefs and opinions within ourselves. No? Quite often things that we picked up in our early life experiences from others or shaped by the early life experiences, and we hold them really deeply within ourselves. Sometimes, quite often irrationally, they're not like amended to rational thoughts, and so we hold on to them. And a lot of these beliefs are mistaken, unrealistic, and yet because we believe them to be true, they create a lot of suffering for us. So this small scope, we try to address some of them, so that as we go about living our daily life, hopefully it helps to relieve us of a lot of the obvious suffering, help us to realign our goal and to see things differently, not to put too much value on, obviously they're important, but they're not that important on these worldly concerns. Because if you do, they really will turn you round and round and round. And at the end of it, despite no matter how hard you try or how tired you are, how exhausted you are, you'll find that it's very unfulfilling, because they are not able, those changing experiences of the worldly concerns are not able to fulfill us. Instead, they wear us out. Instead, why not consider other form of happiness? Happiness of ethical conduct, of loving connection, of finding the bliss and happiness within ourselves through meditation. So these are empowering experiences. They empower us, empower our sense of self-worth, help us to value our life really as precious, and to recognize that we have within our own hands the ability and the potential to create happiness for ourselves. Yeah. So able to change our deep-seated attitude and beliefs become an important thing. So in so far this series, we look at different form of happiness. And in the next upcoming series, which is again talking about pursuit of happiness, but this is quite unique to Buddhism, how the Buddha defined happiness. He often talk about the main thing he taught is really summarized as suffering and the end of suffering. And the Buddha has this unusual way of defining happiness as the absence of suffering, the freedom from suffering. And I think he did it for a specific purpose. Yeah. And he set the bar a bit higher than what I've been talking about. So we are going to look at that yet different kind of happiness, not just happiness of living an ethical, meaningful life, or having loving connection, or finding a sense of peace or bliss within ourselves. But we can, having achieved that, we can aim a bit higher, the happiness of complete freedom from suffering. So, and then that is yet another challenge for us. And there is an occasion for us to reflect, I wonder what is that happiness that's supposed to be a higher quality of happiness. And that is what we're going to explore in the next upcoming modules. Okay, thank you very much for your attention and participation this evening. And I hope what I mentioned over these last few weeks of some new, some helpful, and might stimulate you to think a little bit about it, and maybe to test it out in your own life, in your own experiences, and maybe some of the meditation I touch on might interest you. So with that, I think I'll conclude this evening's session, and hope to see you next week. Please keep well and stay safe, even though restrictions have been lifted. And see you next week. So good night, everybody. Thank you.